Hello and welcome to YNWA Transfer News, your ultimate source for all Liverpool FC transfer news. Our first news is this. Forget Isak. Liverpool's 35mm man is a critical player for Slot this season. Liverpool are certainly the team to beat in the Premier League this season, with the defending English champions reinforcing their squad over the summer. The Reds have won their first 3 Premier League games in 2025-26, with Arne Slot's men looking like an ominous prospect. Liverpool signed Alexander Isak to end a summer-long transfer saga, while the additions of Hugo Ekitike and Florian Wirtz mean the Merseysiders have a plethora of riches in the final third. However, an existing Liverpool player who has just signed a new contract will be a critical component of the club's efforts to retain their Premier League title. Cody Gakpo, a key player for Liverpool, while the likes of Mo Salah and Isak may dominate. The headlines this season for Liverpool, Cody Gakpo has a very important role to play for Slot's men. The Netherlands international moved to Anfield for $35 million in 2022 and recently extended his contract with the Reds. Gakpo recently admitted Bayern Munich were interested in him over the summer before signing his teammate Luis Diaz. But for Liverpool, keeping the versatile forward and locking him down to a new deal looks like a masterstroke. Gakpo makes left-wing position his own. It will be interesting to see how Slot fits Isak into his new-look forward line, especially given Ekitike has started his Liverpool career by scoring twice in his first 3 Premier League games. However, the exit of Diaz and tragic death of Diogo Jota mean Gakpo can make the left-wing position in the Reds' front 3 his own. Gakpo's versatility makes him an important player for Slot, with the former PSV Eindhoven man able to play across the forward line. The 26-year-old scored 10 Premier League goals last season and is set to have an even more significant impact for Liverpool in 2025-26. Richard Hughes already knows Liverpool faces a major problem with Marc Guéhi transfer. Liverpool will be the favorite to sign Marc Guéhi after his deadline day move collapsed, although Richard Hughes has already warned the club it will face a problem next summer. You won't find many more popular men around Anfield right now than Richard Hughes. After an inauspicious start to his time as Liverpool's sporting director last year, the Scot has more than made up for it over the last few months. Securing new deals for Virgil van Dijk and Mohamed Salah would have been enough to get him in the good books with fans, but then he went above and beyond during the summer. A quite remarkable transfer window saw the Reds break the Premier League, transfer record twice, completely transform a side that had already won the title, and still come out the other side with a better net spend than Arsenal. It was an almost perfect summer for Hughes. Almost is the key word there. It might sound cynical after the window Liverpool has just had, but it did, of course, miss out on one of its big targets. Given the way Marc Guéhi's move collapsed, you certainly can't lay the blame at Hughes's door. After all, the deal was agreed and the defender had already undergone his medical, only for Crystal Palace to pull the plug at the 11th hour. Reports of Guéhi being enraged at his current club's decision tell their own story, and although Liverpool would certainly be happier if the 25-year-old were a Red right now, Hughes and co. can console themselves in knowing that the groundwork is done. The decision now, assuming another center-back doesn't take the club's fancy in the meantime, is whether to go back in for Guéhi in January or wait until next summer to get him for free. Liverpool would almost certainly get a reduction on the $47 million deal that was agreed if it went for the earlier option. But getting a player as good as Guéhi for nothing will be more than a little tempting, and it might chime in with Hughes' approach to transfers. With the window open, we'll always be opportunistic if we can, Hughes said last year. You don't get much more opportunistic than signing one of the Premier League's best defenders for free, and as long as Van Dijk, Ibrahima Konate, Joe Gomez, and Giovanni Leone don't break down in the meantime, that will be the most attractive prospect. It does come with its own risks, though. Already other clubs are being linked with Guéhi, and if he finds himself in a position where he can speak freely to anyone, he might well consider his options beyond Liverpool. And Hughes knows there's another problem lying in wait should the Reds choose to wait until next summer. When there are major competitions during the summer, a European Championship, Copa America, and the Olympics as well, there's a lot of football being played. Naturally, the attention is going to be there, Hughes added upon his unveiling. Last year. 2026 is a World Cup year, and bar a quite spectacular collapse, England will be at the tournament in the United States, Canada, and Mexico. And, fitness permitting, Guéhi should be in Thomas Tuchel's starting lineup, never mind his squad. With the tournament running from June 11th to July 19th, that will add a hurdle to a potential transfer. Depending on how far England goes, Guéhi may look to delay any decision over his future, which might leave Liverpool a little more on edge. Hopefully, given he already knows of the Reds' interest, his head won't be turned by another club before he finally gets the chance to complete a move to Anfield. Hughes and Liverpool, though, may well have to bide their time unless they pull the trigger in January. Liverpool have agreed to Virgil van Dijk's transfer demand after making wishes clear. Liverpool gave Virgil van Dijk precisely the transfer window response he wanted after agreeing to sign a new contract at Anfield. The Dutch defender delighted Reds fans when he penned fresh terms in April, but he campaigned for the club to make a statement in the transfer window prior to that announcement. Arne Slot won the Premier League title in his first season as Liverpool coach despite failing to make a major outfield signing last summer. However, the Merseysiders made up for that frugality this year when they spent in excess of $400 million on new arrivals. The additions of attackers Alexander Isak, 130 meters, Florian Wirtz, 116 meter, and Hugo Ekitike, 82 meters, in particular, have got fans excited. And supporters will be reminded on Van Dijk's comments urging the club to go big before it was even known as to whether he'd remain at Anfield beyond this summer. Whatever happens in terms of players going out, players coming in, I think it should be a big summer, said the Dutchman, shortly before his 2-year contract extension was confirmed. I think they're planning to make it a big summer, so we all have to trust the board, as a Liverpool-connected fan, to do the right job. I think Liverpool should be able to challenge for titles in the upcoming years. Many would be inclined to agree after seeing the business the club conducted across the board in recent weeks, and the Reds are already looking like good value to retain the Premier League title after winning each of their first 3 games. There was nary a part of Liverpool's squad that didn't receive reinforcements this summer. Slot's upgrades in attack are well-founded, while 18-year-old Giovanni Leone has given the club the potential Van Dijk successor they've long sought after. Andy Robertson also received fresh competition at left-back from Milos Kerkez, who appears to be Slot's preferred option. And the loss of Trent Alexander-Arnold was mitigated by the arrival of Jeremy Frimpong, who has dazzled at right-back thus far. Those investments weren't completely outside Liverpool's means either, after they sold nearly $200 million worth of talent. And that should help soothe the club's conscience after breaking from the more cost-conscious approach that so often prevailed during Jurgen Klopp's reign. Looking back now, Van Dijk's comments on the transfer window sound like a man with more knowledge of the club's plans than he might have let on. And after spending so little in the summer of 2024, it always seemed like a big response was likely ahead of Slot's sophomore season. That being said, few might have predicted just how big Liverpool's summer splurge would in fact prove to be. And Van Dijk won't be the only one of the belief the Reds are now primed to compete across multiple fronts for years to come. How Woltemade deal could trigger house sale chain linked to Isak. Liverpool's second bid for Alexander Isak has been inevitable since the Newcastle striker dropped his now infamous broken promises statement 10 days ago. With 3 days to go until the transfer window shuts, We are still waiting for the Premier League champions' improved second offer after their original 110-meter bid was rejected on 1st August. But sources continue to insist it is merely a matter of time before the Reds return with a new one, likely to be for a minimum of $120 million, to land Isak in what would be a British record deal, and that move holds the key that could unlock a number of other transfers before Monday's deadline. The moves of Isak, striker Nick Woltemade, Brentford's Jon Wissa, and Borussia Dortmund forward Max Bayer are in something akin to a house sale chain, with values, contracts, and moving dates all needing to be lined up for it to work. It is thought Isak's Instagram statement, in which he said the relationship can't continue, was the start of the process towards Liverpool renewing their efforts to sign the Sweden international. Sources close to the 25-year-old have confirmed to BBC Sport his intention remains to move to Anfield despite Newcastle's efforts to broker a reconciliation earlier this week. All that is left now is for Liverpool to submit what they hope is a successful second bid for Isak, a process sources say has been ongoing for some time. The first part of the chain to move on Saturday was Newcastle signing Woltemade in a club record deal worth up to $69 million. It is the first of 3 dominoes that may need to fall before Isak achieves his ambition of joining Liverpool in the next few days. In Newcastle's counter-statement to Isak's seismic post last week, the club made clear the conditions of a sale this summer have not transpired, before stating they did not foresee those conditions being met. Those conditions are threefold. The first 2 are for Newcastle to sign 2 strikers. Woltemade is the first of those. That Newcastle are paying a club record fee for the Germany international suggests he is coming to be first-choice striker, the position Isak, in usual circumstances, would occupy. Though Woltemade did not take Isak's number 9 shirt and instead opted for 27 at Newcastle, remain in pursuit of Brentford forward Jon Wissa, who is viewed as the replacement for Callum Wilson after his departure. Brentford have already rejected 2 offers for Wissa from the Magpies, the latest worth $35 plus $5 million in add-ons. The 2 clubs remain in talks, with sources close to the deal indicating the transfer will accelerate once Brentford sign another attacker following their capture of Bournemouth forward Dango Ouattara. Brentford are also in talks over a move Bayer, who Dortmund are prepared to sell as they close on a deal for Wolves attacker Fabio Silva. Should Bayer arrive at Brentford, the expectation is Wissa would move to St. James's Park. Newcastle also retain an interest in Jørgen Strand Larsen, though. Wolves are adamant the Norway striker is not for sale, having already rebuffed 2 bids from the Magpies. The arrival of Wissa or Larsen would be the second domino to fall as Liverpool seek Isak. The third, the clubs agreeing a deal. The fact Newcastle are actively trying to sign 2 forwards indicates their openness towards selling Isak, who is still training away from Eddie Howe's squad. Last week's counter-statement also did not rule out Isak leaving, which provides another hint towards what Liverpool will try to make a reality in the next few days. Liverpool transfer news. Alexander Isak talks confirmed as Reds push for defender deal. Liverpool have already spent some serious cash in the transfer market this summer, but the Premier League champions could have more big deals up their sleeve before the window shuts on September 1st. Arne Slot and co. have added Jeremy Frimpong, Florian Wirtz, Milos Kerkez, and Hugo Ekitike to the team that won the title last year, with Georgi Mamardashvili also now on Merseyside after spending one final season in Spain with Valencia, and further reinforcements could be on the way in the coming days. Liverpool's interest in Alexander Isak has been well documented in recent weeks, and the Sweden international is still training alone at Newcastle after making it clear that he wants a move. There is also talk of a deal for Marc Guéhi following negotiations with Crystal Palace over the England star earlier this month. The Reds are short at centre-back after sanctioning Jarell Quansah's move to Bayer Leverkusen earlier this summer. Howe confirms Isak talks. Eddie Howe has said that he did hold talks with Alexander Isak at the end of the 2024-25 campaign, but did not divulge whether or not he was aware of the player's desire to leave. Isak accused the club of breaking promises in an explosive social media statement this week. Newcastle responded with a statement of their own, which outlined that no club officials had promised the striker a move. When he was asked about the situation in a press conference on Friday, Howe said, "Yeah, me and Alex had conversations towards the end of the season. Yes, I am not going to sit here and deny that. I have always said that individual conversations are better off remaining private. But we had conversations at the end of the season. But I have had conversations with him near enough every day. That wouldn't be abnormal." Guéhi transfer latest. Liverpool are still pushing to sign Marc Guéhi before the transfer window shuts after Steve Parish hinted Crystal Palace could sell their captain. Guéhi could follow Eberechi's out of Selhurst Park with the attacking midfielder agreeing to join Arsenal. Spanish outlet AS claimed that Liverpool are competing with Manchester City, Manchester United, and Real Madrid for Crystal Palace's Adam Wharton. There has been plenty of speculation around Wharton, 21, in recent months following the impressive manner in which he has handled the step-up from the Championship to the Premier League after joining Palace back in February 2024, with top clubs now circling. Thank you for watching. Like and comment, subscribe.